Okay, so as I said, tonight we're going to look at John Wheeler's book, You Were Never Born. And I highly, highly recommend this book. So this is, let me just, I have to just ask everyone, please, to mute. Please mute yourselves. Okay. And then when we have the discussion, obviously you'll unmute, but just for the reading, you'll mute. So this is some of his review of the basics. And this is John. It all comes down to clarifying your identity. You are already present. So there's no need to look for a future state, experience, or attainment. What you are seeking to know is not separate or distant, since it is your own self. What you are must be with you always. Anything which appears and disappears cannot by definition be what you are. Thoughts, feelings, perceptions, experiences, objects, all these all come and go. None of them as such can be the essence of what you are. So set those aside and continue to look into your true nature. What is left to consider? Surprisingly little. However, you are still present. You are still aware. Look at this presence of awareness itself. Having discarded all else, this is the only possible remainder and must be what you are. Your existence is beyond any doubt, and what you are is brightly aware. You are that knowing presence, which is registering all thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Look directly into this. This is the heart of the matter. Notice that thoughts arise and set, but this presence, your own natural being, remains constant. There is no need to wait for the future to see this, nor is there any need for a special practice, technique, or approach, simply because it is already present. You do not need to make an effort to be present and aware. It is completely natural and effortless. Look now and notice that what you are and the sense of presence awareness are not two different things. You are that which is present and aware. Many words are used to point to this essential nature: presence, awareness, consciousness, life, spirit, emptiness, being, God, oneness, and so on. These are all simply pointers. And what they are pointing to is your true nature, nothing more and nothing less. The body and mind may suffer experiences, yet awareness, your natural being, remains unaffected and uncompromised, just like the sun ever shining beyond the clouds and utterly untouched by them. Your true nature has no suffering, doubts, or problems at all. See all this, and you will find that your true nature is ever-present awareness, changeless being, and undisturbed freedom and peace itself. You are not a limited, defective person, self, or entity. This false belief is at the root of all seeking, suffering, doubts, and problems in life. Those experiences are only creations of conceptual thought. Those concepts hinge on the imagined person who is assumed to be separate from awareness. So all thoughts of a suffering nature concern the identity, attributes, and condition of a person to whom they are assumed to apply. Interest in the thoughts is sustained by the belief that we are that limited person or separate self. The person to whom those thoughts and stories pertain is the central I thought, ego, or person that we have assumed to be present and real. This is the linchpin of the whole production. All the self-centered concepts, beliefs, and habits of mind are sustained by the belief in the presence of this person. Where is this person? Is it real? Did you ever find it? For example, in any given moment, there may be a few thoughts, feelings, or sensations arising, appearing. Do any of those constitute a person or a separate self? They are simply momentary objects appearing and disappearing in present awareness. How could they be substantial, self, or independent person? If you set those aside and continue to investigate, you will find that there is nothing else present to investigate at all. All there is wide open, clear, obvious presence awareness itself. And that is not a limited person or entity. What about the nature of the world, the universe that presents itself to us? All that we can know is what appears to us in immediate presence. And that which appears, whether it be a thought, a feeling, perception, or any other experience, has no separate and independent existence apart from the awareness which cognizes it. Since awareness and objects always appear together, they must be the same in essence. How many thoughts, feelings, or perceptions can you have outside of awareness? They are inseparable. Everything that appears, arises from, exists upon, and returns into awareness. Every time, space, and seeming external objects are present experience contained in your knowing presence. There is nothing separate and apart from this ever. In fact, there is just this, only this, inescapable presence awareness. You are that. So, let me just continue with one other paragraph. He goes on to say, how do we live and function in the world? This is a false question, because as we have already seen, there is no one present who can live or function. At a practical level, all thoughts, feelings, and actions go on without any reference to an imagined self-center or person. I am not thinking, feeling, sensing, experiencing, or acting because there is no I, a separate ego I present to do those things. Look at your thoughts right now. Is there an I creating them? Or are they simply arising spontaneously? Surely the latter is the case. Do you have any idea what the next thought will be? If not, how can you say you created it? If you say you are choosing, creating, or controlling your thoughts, then why would you ever create an unhappy or troubling thoughts? So you see that thoughts simply appear. There is no person or self involved at all. The same goes for choices, decisions, feelings, and actions. It is all happening spontaneously. So the question, how will I live my life, is unnecessary. There is no you to do anything at all. Things simply come up to be done. Life and its activities arise spontaneously and effortlessly from moment to moment in response to the demands of the situation and circumstances. So, what do you, any comments on this? Any responses to this? All that we can know is that what appears to us, a thought, a feeling, a perception, or any kind of an experience, has no separate and independent existence apart from the awareness which cognizes it. So we believe that there is a me separate and apart from awareness that's doing all the thinking, the cognizing, the choosing. And he's saying here, that's not possible. He asks us, who is this me? What is this me? Is there a me independent of thought? So if the me is not independent of thought, then thought is an appearance. It appears and it disappears. Just as the ego appears and disappears, the continuity that we feel it has is based on memory. So memory produces the images of past experiences, past loves, past hurts, present projected fears and worries, but that's based on memory. What's real in the moment is just a present awareness. You know, the first time I heard this was from Krishnamurti years ago. And it's like when you realize, when there is a realization that it is awareness that is the center of our being, that just changes so much. Because then it becomes obvious that we cannot know anything separate from awareness. Nothing can exist separate from awareness. We are that awareness. That is our essential being and existence. But we have identified with this separate me, which is very strong. So we've identified ourselves as that, and that identifies with the body. So that combination of a me, a belief in a separate me that carries a separate body, that's very, very strong. However, when we really look, we see that that same awareness that I have is the exact same awareness that you have. There is no difference here. The only thing that's different, the bodies are different, the life experiences are different, the conditionings are different, and hence the memories are different. But the essence that we all share is this basic awareness. And that is no different in you or in me. That's the one non-duality. That's the one without a second. That's the one reality. Nothing can appear or disappear without awareness. Even the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. They are not separate from awareness. That's what's the foundation of those three states. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you say?
Evelyn, I'm with you on this, nothing happens outside of awareness part. That part, totally in agreement about. This thing where he says that, you say you're choosing, creating, controlling your thoughts. There's no person, self. The same goes for choices, decisions, feelings, and actions. It all happens spontaneously. So that part, I think it seems like he's leaving out like these samskaras, like the routines of thinking. And in other words, it seems like it's just like a totally fatalistic world, within awareness. And that part doesn't make sense to me. But the total, there's no disputing. I think between you and I, there'd be no disputing that everything happens on the foundation of awareness. Totally agree with that.
Yes.
It's just this idea that everything else happens. In other words, where's the initiation of that? Like where's the initiation of a thought? I think these, like they talk about the samskaras or the patterns of our thinking or our behavior. You talk about memory. There's the interaction with the external world that triggers thought. But to me, this idea that it's just totally fatalistic, that doesn't make sense to me. That we have no control. No control or no input. And when I'm talking about the we, I'm not talking about the egoic we. I'm talking about the self. I think that's, for me, that's the whole thing of Maya, or not Maya, Leela, is that you have this ability to play in this world, this realm of thought. So that part I just don't understand or get. It just the whole it just seems fatalistic to me.
You know what? Let me just. It's interesting because I read that, and now I've been reading again. Perfect, Brilliant Stillness, David Carr's.
Right.
And look what I opened up to. It's just a few paragraphs, so just bear with me. This is David Carr's. Who am I? The age-old question. Certainly not this body, temporary, changing, physical molecules and atoms and particles that even the physicists tell us ultimately don't exist as such. Certainly not this mind, thoughts that come from I know not where and which I cannot control. Ultimately, it comes to this. The only thing of which we can be sure is the consciousness or awareness deep inside, deep behind and beyond personality, prior to all the variations of who or what I have thought I was, the sense, the knowing I am, the irreducible, intuitive self, the life force that exists and knows it exists. That is all, the only constant. All the rest is a construct, a fabrication. Under all the layers, each of us has this same experience of I am existence, the same experience of self with a capital S, inextricably Inexorably, this common experience is attributed to various selves, each having the exact same experience of self. This impersonal self is deemed personal, an individual self inhabiting each individual body-mind. After all, that is what seems apparent, but you don't have to dig very far before this makes no sense. The idea that there are separate individual selves is only possible because in each apparent self, there is experience of self with a capital S. This experience has been misconstrued to be a personal experience that belongs to a personal body-mind. The life force, the self with a capital S, animating one body-mind is deemed different from that animating another, because the expression of that self is different in each. We concentrate on the inconsistent, variable expression and miss the constant that lies beneath. The constant, there is only one. There is only one self, one awareness, consciousness, finding expression in the many apparent body and minds. My knowing I am is the same self with a capital S, knowing as you knowing I am. Reality is that which underlies appearances, the self, the I am, awareness, absolute. What we call individuals are only apparent, relative constructs. In fact, all of what is called physical and mental reality is only appearance, relativity. So, what can a construct do? And this self, other than knowing, and I don't think it's the knowing like accumulating knowledge knowing, it's that intuitive knowing that you exist, that I exist. That's, we all know that. That's the self. But other than that, what the self? It's, what is it? What does it see? What does it do?
You know what helps me get an understanding of this a little bit better, I ask myself, if I was born with this small eye, does this come with the package? I mean, does this come up, or is this something that I developed? Is this something that at some point when the brain develops, I don't know, the age of 1, 2, somewhere along the line, it now is influenced by its environment, it's conditioned, it's told to separate, it's told to be dual. And the irony about it is that it has to be, because when you speak, you're in duality. So
Yes.
there's a dilemma here that we're forced to communicate with each other, to do it in duality. I think for me, it helps me to understand that the minute I start talking, I'm in duality, and I have to try to be aware of when I'm filtering these words through my eye, through the me.
Yes.
That is through memory. And this is, I don't know how to synthesize this well or anything, but I find that on the other hand, if I don't try to think something through all the time, if I just let it go, just let the day unfold, it happens. I don't control it. And it works out just fine. But like today, I had a problem. I was trying to get a hold of Ameriprise and work on some kind of beneficiary change that I wanted to do to this annuity. And you know, you get on the phone and you wait 15 minutes and then somebody shuffles you to another 15 minutes, and then I got cut off. So I had to dial all over again. And I'm watching myself get aggravated. And then all of a sudden I say, wait a minute, who the hell's getting aggravated? What's the point? What does it accomplish? It accomplishes absolutely nothing, because what I want to do is I want to change a beneficiary. And it unfortunately, it doesn't happen until I go through not the steps that I want, but the steps that they have to have. So it calmed me down, and I went through it, and eventually I got a hold of some people who we found out there was a glitch in the computer transmission, and so on and so forth. And eventually I got it resolved, and that was it. But it wasn't, from my standpoint, it wasn't because I was trying to make this thing happen.
Yes.
Whenever I try to make something happen, and I use a lot of effort, a lot of times I get what I want done, but at a hell of a cost. At the cost of tremendous amount of energy. I get tired. I may get aggravated. I'll be aggravated with somebody that comes around that really doesn't understand. I've had a rough, whatever it was on the tube or on the phone or whatever, and it doesn't pay. I think for me, the reaffirmation of what this present awareness is, that when I don't really push the I in psychological situations, the outcome is much better than when I do.
Correct. Correct.
That's it.
That's right.
There's more, but I'm
Yeah,
fine.
no, very well said. Listen, yes, we have to be in duality to communicate. However, what we're not taught is our identity. See, right, we identify with this, what's now pictured as a separate self. It's still not separate, whether it's age 3 or 33 or 63 or 103. It's not separate from awareness, but we are conditioned to believe it is separate from awareness. And that's our identity. And we lose sight of the fact that none of this can happen without awareness. And yes, if we have the courage to let go, in the moment, if we can just see how suddenly a thought arises. And as he said, I don't know what my next thought is going to be. I don't know anyone that can tell me what their next thought is going to be.
And in that, just as you reminded me, in that process of letting go, when that thought occurs to me, it becomes there's a lot of anxiety with that. There's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Because for 88 years, I've been looking at the small I as being who I am. And to let go of that it almost feels like, you're on a scaffold 40 feet above the ground, and you're asking to believe that if you let go, nothing is going to happen, that you're not going to fall. It feels like that, which it isn't, but it feels that way. So it becomes very, very difficult to get out of the I, small I, and get closer to what you are. And that is something that you can't, it's hard to explain what it definitely is, but you definitely know there's something there that is there all the time.
Yes. Yes.
When you wake up in the morning, it's there. When you go to bed at night, it's there. No matter what happens, it's there. You pause your thought, it's there. I don't know that there is.
Yes,
Try to do something that you cannot be there. Try it and see if it happens.
but that's the
And
point
you
of
can write a new book.
that's the point of present awareness.
Yeah.
Yes, it's always there. It's always there. You know, a fun experiment is, let's say the thought arises that you want to plan something, and it doesn't look like this can happen. And so another thought arises, well, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that, or maybe I should stop this, and then you see how this me is working. It wants to push life around in its own way, for its own purpose. So one sees that, it's seen. And you suddenly say, you know what, I'm not doing anything. Let it unfold. Just let it unfold. Let's just see what happens. And it's amazing. It all unfolds perfectly. It just happens the way it needs to happen. So you're desperate for this doctor's appointment. I've been hearing lately a lot about people not being able to get in to see doctors for months at a time. You're desperate. So you make the necessary calls, because you've got to make the call to make the appointment, just like you have to buy a ticket to get on the plane. So you do that. That's a functional, practical action. So then it begins. You can't have this appointment. You can get that appointment. And you tell I'm repeating this because a patient was telling me this. And so then you say, can I speak to the doctor then, or it's an emergency then, or I have another doctor you could speak to. And when she let it go, she said, all right, I'll have to take what you've got. All of a sudden, 3 days later, she gets a call. There's an opening, there's a cancellation. She sees this particular doctor who wasn't the right doctor, who sent her to the correct. In other words, it unfolded the way it had to unfold. And I think, isn't life like that? I mean, isn't it like that? Here we are, Paul and I are in Florida now for the next few months. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me that she lost a doctor, one of her doctors, in the building that collapsed. He was there in Florida with his brother, who was also a doctor. And these two brothers, both physicians, died in this. So nothing could have stopped that. Nothing could have stopped that. It unfolded the way it had to unfold. In present awareness. Did awareness create this? I don't think so. I think it's just the movement of life, which is a manifestation, yes, and an expression of awareness. But how is it? Another example, there are many talented artists, singers, musicians, composers, many, many, many talented, but yet just a few get recognition. How is that? Why is that? It's just the way it unfolds. So like John said, how shall I live my life? We live our life having as much clarity and compassion and love in our life, and wherever we can, helping other people because they're not separate from us. And we try to live an honest, ethical life of integrity and compassion. And we have no control. But I think if we are clear about our identity, we can find some peace. And that's the peace we're all looking for, because it's too hard to be this separate me in this world that we believe is real, just as we believe we're real. And in this present moment, it's real, but it's not the ultimate reality. It's just like Iris said in his talks, it's a dream. Just like when you go to sleep and you dream, it feels real, and it's not. So what's the absolute reality? Not separate from us. We are that. But we've switched our identity. We have to switch back to what we originally were.
Well, the other thing is another point here that you can't see reality through the eye.
No, that's right. Through the me.
Through the me, the eye, the center.
Right.
Because that entity, it's conditioned. It's been conditioned from the day you born, more or less. So that I has the concept of choices and sees things in choices. And something from Krishnamurti, if you're in a position that you're choosing, you're not seeing reality. You're not seeing what is. You're seeing it through the eye, because if you see what is, there is no choice. The what has to be done is obvious. There's no. That's, to me, that's extremely powerful, and I can see that. I mean, whenever, like you say, a doctor's appointment. In fact, one came up, and I was supposed to go tomorrow to see my doctor, and she canceled on me. And so it's next week. And initially, I got very annoyed. And what's going on, and this and that and the other thing. He says, well, would you like to see the other doctor that's in the office? And I sort of let go a little bit. And I said, what the hell? One doctor's another. They all have medical degrees. I mean, maybe one's a little bit prettier than the other one, but so I said, fine. And all of a sudden, whatever anxiety, whatever upset I had because somebody dared to cancel my appointment, I just settled in it. Fine. That was the end of it. I didn't think about it anymore.
Right. Let it go.
Yeah.
Right.
We want control. Without it, it feels like, we're going to lose it. It feels like we're going to get in trouble. Somebody's going to do something bad to us, or something bad is going to happen. You got to have that control, and that's what most of that is all about.
Well, if you believe yourself to be a separate self,
Yep.
It's very scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very scary. That's right. And that's why most people suffer emotionally. I mean, there is physical pain, no doubt about it. But the emotional pain most of us suffer is from this strong belief in a separate individual me. And we don't see that the foundation of that me is based on memory and experience. And we're bringing the past into the present and reacting from the past into the present, to whatever the present situation is. You're right, Ugo, we don't have clarity over the present situation when we're looking through the eyes of a me.
You know, this is a good reminder to me. This is Frank.
Oh, hi, Frank.
Hi. This is, I had this conversation with the woman that was cutting my hair today. And I told her I was going to a meditation retreat, and she said, wow, I've never tried meditation before, until my friend told me last week how to do, what's it called? Breath, following your breath.
Yeah.
And I said, when you follow your breath, I said, who are you? You know, who are you that's doing the meditation? I said, don't you feel kind of like what you're doing is like a product of what you were born with and what you were kind of conditioned to be like, neither of which you had anything to do with.
Mhm.
And then she really stood back and she said, wow, that's amazing. And then it reminded me, just as this conversation is a very good reminder, because when I was younger, I had a lot of very fortunate experiences in my life. And in the last 15 years, it's changed a little bit. But I've recognized that the actions that I take aren't really my actions, and the outcomes of what I'm doing aren't really my outcomes. For instance, I hate going to the gym to work out, to get exercise. I really don't like it, but I like the results. So, but I realize that all I have to do is just follow along the first thing that has to be done, and let that kind of guide your next step. You know, let that pull you whichever way it has to do. If I have the inclination to go, then I go. And if I don't have the inclination, then I don't go. And it makes life very simple for me.
Right.
Really, really is.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So you don't force life. You don't push it. You let it go through you and take you where it needs to go.
Hey, Karen Horn and I had a great saying about something like that. The tyranny of the shoulds. The tyranny of the shoulds, you know? And to my language, I frame it, if I see something as a have to, my immediate reaction, I mean, it's like spontaneous. No. It's absolutely no. It's part of my conditioning, you know?
That's part of the condition, because some of the have tos are important.
No.
You see, some of them are important.
Well, if you don't have an eye, you don't have a have to.
Well, that's true. That's true. Then you would know what you had to do. You would know that you had to wash your hands. You would know that you had to help someone who just fell down. You would know that you had to be a listening ear for someone who's in pain. You would just know it.
Put some oil on the squeaky wheel. Yep.
Yes. Well, so look, we're not going to meet at least for 2 weeks. After the holidays, I will send out notices to everyone about the next meeting. And in the meantime, have a very Merry Christmas, a very healthy, happy New Year, a joyful New Year, a New Year filled with joy.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Evelyn. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you next year.
See
Thank
you
for
next
organizing.
year.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Bye, dears.
Ciao.
Ciao.